Hello my dear students, it's a pleasure to meet you in our educational program of Geology and Environmental Sciences. In our today's program we'll have a final revision and our expectations for tomorrow's exam. Let's start with the following. Compare between the followings. We start with the comparison between graben and horst. For horst, it is a tectonic structure developed when the 2-foot wall of two normal faults combine together in one rock block. For the grabens, it is tectonic structures developed when the two hanging walls they are combining together in 1-foot block. In one rock block. As you see, my dear students, the comparison here between grabens and horsts. Both of them are tectonic structures. They are normal faults, but we have two normal faults combined together in the foot wall in one rock block, so we'll have a graben. And the horst, they are also two normal faults, but they are combined together in their hanging wall. So it is going up and forming a horst. Now let's go to the next question. Compare between natural and recent extinction. As you see, my dear students, for natural extinction, it is natural event result from species failure to compete with others. For the recent extinction, it is unnatural event result from man activity as hunting in direct way or removal of vegetations, forest burning or pollution. This is an indirect way to destructive the environment and making recent extinction. Also for natural extinction, they are occurred slowly and gradually, and new species substitute the extinct ones. However, for recent extinction, it occurred vastly and lead to just species extinction without any substitutions. For natural extinction, it leads to evolution of living organisms. For recent extinction, it leads to environmental destruction and disturbance. Now let's go to the next comparison. Compare between hibernation and summerlessness. For hibernation means when an animal sleeps in winter and wakes up when the weather gets warmer. For the summerlessness, the animals sleep to avoid the heat and temperature of the summer. Correct the underlined words. Economic geology is specialized in the study of remains of ancient organisms. We have an underlined word here which is economic geology. This is the wrong branch for studying remains of ancient organisms. The right branch here it is paleontology, is specialized in the study of remains of ancient organisms. One of the cohesion properties of minerals is a streak. Yes, streak is a property of the mineral, but it is not a cohesion property, it is an optical property. Quartz is characterized by rough fractures. No, it's not the right fractures for quartz. Quartz is known by its conchoidal fracture. conglomerate is a sedimentary rock which its grains are less than 4 microns. Yes, it is claystone is the right type of sedimentary rock with grains less than 4 microns. It is the claystone. Siltstone is one of the chemical sedimentary rocks. Siltstone, it is a type of sedimentary rock, but it is not chemically formed. It is a clastic sedimentary rock. It is a detrital sedimentary rock. It is formed by mechanical way. It's not forming by chemical way. Choose the correct answer. In the desert ecosystem, the timber vegetation is characterized by the following: true xerophytic or desert plants in the form of herbs and bushes, or annual plants appeared only in winter after the rains. The increase in the ratio of the root system to the shoot system. We can find all of these in desert plants, but the most common criteria for the desert plants, it is the annual plants which appear only in winter after the rains. The highest food energy level in fish, phytoplanktons, crustaceans, or protozoa. As you see, my dear students, the most of the energy found in the first trophic level, and the right answer here is very obvious in P option, phytoplanktons. Now, my dear students, let's go to the next question. Alluvial fans develop at the base of which? The continental shelf, the continental slope, mountain fronts, fault scarp, or none of the above. As you know, my dear students, these fans are formed in mountainous areas. So the right answer, it is the mountain fronts. The mature river stage is characterized by the presence of specific features such as waterfalls, dry delta, potholes, ox lakes. Yes, the most characteristic features for the mature stage of rivers of having many meanders and expo lakes, the D option. Draw a diagram showing the depositional zone of the sea. As you see, my dear students, we have some zones relating to the profile of the subsurface substrate. We have a littoral zone, shallow water zone, basal zone, and abyssal zone. They are shown in the diagram as an A area, the shallow water zone in B area, the littoral basal zone in C area, and the abyssal zone in D area. Let's describe these zones. As you see, it's very obvious, the continental shelf with a gentle slope and the continental slope with a steep slope. And we go down in the deep water, reaching to more than 4,000 kilometers. To define the littoral zone, it is an interval between the shore and the edge of the continental shelf. For the shallow waters, this is a gently sloping zone of the continental shelf extending to a depth of about 200 meters. For the sea zone, this zone started with the continental slope increasing from 200 meters to about 2,000 meters. And for the D zone, which is the abyssal zone, it is an environment that includes oceanic depths greater than 2,000 meters. Now, my dear students, let's go to the next question. Answer the following questions. What are the characteristics of deep marine fauna? These have bodies and physiological characteristics that enable them to bear this high pressure, which is 1 atmospheric pressure for every 10 meters under the water, in addition to the atmospheric pressure at the sea level. This is very high pressure for the deep marine waters. Also, at deep marine waters, we got cool water. They are able to live in conditions of deep water as severe cold and complete darkness at depths more than 500 degrees centigrade. Compare between annual plants and true desert plants. Annual plants, we call them temporary vegetation, appear after rainfall in winter. It is specialized for the life of the desert, but are related to the absence of water and then wither away in summer, leaving the seeds in the soil for the next winter. However, my dear students, the true xerophytic or desert plants, which is permanent vegetation in the desert in the form of herbs, bushes, and perennial trees, which grow in and grow away from each other and are characterized by the increase in the ratio of the root system to the shoot system, whether in length, volume, or weight. In some plants, this ratio reached to 80 to 3.5. My dear students, let's go to choose the correct answer. Questions. The diagram represents the food web for a community of organisms. As you see in the front of you, this is community of different organisms. We have producers here as these bushes, flowers, and we have herbivorous like the rats, carnivorous like the owl and the fox. Let's see what happened if a disease caused the rabbit population to decline drastically. How would this decline in rabbit population impact the community? Of course, the decline in rabbit population will affect the community, but which one will be the most affected organism? The mouse population would decrease. The grasshopper population would decrease. The fox population would decrease. The snake population would decrease. Of course, we find here only the fox is depending in its food chain on rabbits, so the fox population would decrease. This is a kind of deterioration of the ecosystem, but it deteriorated a single branch of the food chain. As you see, the population of the fox will be declined. The rock fragments resulted from the breakage of the volcanic neck. We call this is volcanic ash, gravels, volcanic pressures, lava flow. As you see, my dear students, these fragments is break down and deposited close to the source, so it is with sharp edges. We call this breccia, volcanic breccia. Tectonic structures are which type of structures? Is it primary, secondary lava flow, or sedimentary rocks. Tectonic structures, it is formed after the classification of rocks and having primary features on these rocks, and for this we call them secondary structures. We call them secondary structures after the formation of the rocks. From the primary structures we can define laccoliths, faults, joints, or river marks and mud cracks. Yes, this is a form of the formation of rocks. We can find on them ripples or mud cracks. Match between A and B columns. In the left column we have calcite quartz, feldspars, black mica. In the right columns we have characteristics for the minerals. It is resist the chemical weathering more than any other mineral, or recrystallize to large interlocking crystals in marble. Its crystals grow in two major directions, or resist the chemical weathering less than any other minerals. And finally, one of the components of magma. As you see, my dear students, we have 4 minerals on the left and we have 5 characteristics on the right. For the one which is calcite, this could be grown to marble under the recrystallization processes, and we got large interlocking crystals. For quartz, it is known by its hardness, and it resists the chemical weathering more than any other minerals, and we can see that in granite's weathering. We have a character for feldspars. We know it is less resistant minerals, especially in granite rocks, so it is decayed to the clay minerals. For the black mica, we know it is growing in 2 directions more than the third one, so it's a flaky or platy minerals. Now let's go to following question. Compare between saline water and fresh water. Like lake, saline water, lakes, it is characterized by the deposition of limestone, calcite, calcium carbonate under the hot, dry climate, may lose of their water by evaporation. Many minerals are deposited in such lake when the solution has become supersaturated with respect to one of these minerals, like gypsum and rock salt for sodium carbonate, common in lake of the Mediterranean coast zone, like Lake Etru and Wadi El Natrun in Egypt. For freshwater lakes, lakes receiving water from stream usually deposited sediments, with the coarser detrital near the shore and the fine materials near the center. For freshwater, we start having detrital sediments. For the salty lakes, we have saline deposits because of the evaporation of these lakes. In our example here, we have detrital sediments where the coarse detrital sediments are formed near the shore of the lakes, and the final one will find in the center. Many lakes have deposited minerals of economic importance. What is the problem of spreading of urbanization in Egypt, and how can we solve this problem? We have a major problem in Egypt because of the rate of population growth became more than 1.25 million annually. To solve this problem, we have to think about establishing a number of new cities, as the government did, on uncultivated areas in desert land, and encouraging the people to establish different industrial projects in these cities. Also, the government issued legislation that prevent building on agricultural land. What happens if granite is subjected to mechanical weathering? The granite will break down into small fragments of the same mineral composition as the original type of granite. What happens if limestone is subjected to high temperature? The original crystals of calcite of small size in the limestone will be increased and have become recrystallized to large interlocking crystals of calcite in the marble. Also, clays is subjected to chemical weathering. Also, clay is composed of potassium aluminum silicate, which is a weak mineral under the effect of carbonic acid formed by dissolving carbon dioxide in rainwater. Hydrogen ion released from the dilute carbonic acid and attack orthoclase and will decompose it by losing silica and potassium to give kaolinite, which is the common clay mineral. My dear students, a river meets the sea. What happened of this? A delta forms where the rivers deposit sediments faster than the sea can remove. Nile Delta is a deposit for this example with economic importance such as gold, diamond, antimony, and limonite. In Egypt, the black sand appears in North Delta region. Water table in desert or mountain area. We expect the water table lies at greater depths. Correct the underlined words. The science of geomorphology is specialized in the study of igneous rocks. This is not the right science for studying igneous rocks, but it is the right for. The sand is biochemical sedimentary rock, contains the remains of fossils in addition to the metal components of the phosphate minerals. So it is not the sand which is the biochemical, and we know sand is a detrital material. The one here which is matching with this type of rocks, it is the phosphate rock. It contains the remains of fossils in addition to the phosphoric or the metal components of the phosphatic minerals. Andesite of sedimentary rock, while marble of igneous rock. As you see, my dear students, we have two fake questions here for the type of rocks. For the andesite, it is igneous rock, and for the marble, it is a sedimentary adder. For the andesite, it is igneous rock, while for the marble, it is a metamorphic rocks. Also, granite rock is poor in silica. This is totally wrong. And the one which is poor in silica is the basalt. The intrusive rock that is equivalent to basalt is diorite. As you know, my dear students, the intrusive rock that equivalent to basalt, it is the gabbro. Okay, let's go to the next question. Intrusive igneous rocks crystallized by fabric of fine or glassy crystals, while extrusive rocks which with coarse crystal fabric. As you see, my dear students, this is the wrong descriptions for the rocks of intrusive igneous rocks and extrusive. For intrusive, it is expected to find coarse crystals because of the slow cooling, and the extrusive we expect to find fine crystals or glassy crystals because of the vast cooling. So the right texture here for intrusive igneous rocks is the coarse crystals, while extrusive rocks with fine or glassy crystal fabric. Now let's go to the next question, which is drawing question. Draw a diagram showing the laccoless, lobeless igneous bodies. As you see in the diagram in the front of you, the lobeless concaving downward and laccoless is convexing upwards. As a magma goes up through the layers, rocks, and is highly viscous, so increased of breaking, and instead of being intruded and extended horizontally, they start to accumulate and causing arching or doming the rock above. This is the laccoless. For if the flow of the intrusion is concave downward, it is called lobeless. For the lobeless, the magma is not highly viscous and they start to downward to the lower direction, and we call this lobeless. Now, my dear students, let's go to the next question. Choose the correct answer. Which of the following is a physical property of minerals? Breakage, tint and hue, luster, roughness, roundness. As you see, my dear students, the physical property here for the optical criteria, it is the luster. Now let's go to the next question. The color of a powdered minerals is the same as the color of the mineral specimen, or it is called streak, or it is determined by the type of impurities in the mineral. As you see, my dear students, the right choice here is the B choice. It's called the streak. Which of the following minerals are arranged in order of increasing hardness? Talc, apatite, corundum, diamond, topaz, quartz, fluorite, corundum. Talc, quartz, calcite, diamond, or quartz, topaz, diamond, fluorite. As you see, my dear students, all of these are in Mohs scale, but one of these are in right order, like fluorite, calcite, gypsum, talc. The one here which is in right order, it is talc, apatite, corundum, and diamond. Draw a diagram showing the 4 structural elements of fault. As you see, my dear students, we have major parts for the faults here, like the axial plane. Also, we have the axis. we have the lamp, and finally we have the fold faces. Now, my dear students, let's go to the next question. What are the effects of light on algae? Algae differ amounts themselves according to the kind and amount of light necessary for photosynthesis. That red algae needs relatively a small amount of light, so it can make its food at depths of 25 meters. For brown algae, they cannot make its food at depths more than 10 meters. For the vascular plants, they cannot live in fresh water at depths more than 10 meters. By this, my dear students, we come to the end of our program. I hope to give you some advices for tomorrow's exam. You take the chance of having a booklet. Start with the easiest questions and move gradually to the harder ones. Do not forget to write illustrations on your drawings, and also leave some time for a revision for the total answers. And I hope you got the total marks for tomorrow's exam. And goodbye.